Today, we're diving deep into a topic that affects so many of us: burnout. It's become a real crisis in our modern world. But what if one of the best ways to fight it is something we already have access to? We're going to explore the science behind the effects of aerobic exercise on burnout syndrome, all based on a really comprehensive systematic review. Burnout is so much more than just feeling a little tired. It's this deep state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion. And it's hitting millions of people. So the big question we're tackling today is, could a solution be as simple as lacing up a pair of running shoes? Can aerobic exercise actually be a scientifically backed fix for burnout? Now, the foundation for everything we're about to discuss is a super rigorous systematic review from Dr. Surya Kumareswaran. And just look at this expertise, from community health and occupational medicine all the way to ergonomics. This tells you right away that the information we're drawing from is credible, it's authoritative, and it's solid. Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll get a handle on just how big this burnout epidemic really is. Then we'll look at aerobic exercise as a possible answer. After that, we're going to dig into the science, see what the evidence actually shows, and then, most importantly, figure out how to take that research and apply it in the real world. So first up, let's really define the problem we're facing. How bad is the burnout crisis in our workplaces today? So what is burnout really? It's not just a buzzword people throw around. Clinically, it's a syndrome defined by this, toxic trio of symptoms. First, you feel completely drained emotionally. Then you start to feel cynical and detached from your work. And finally, there's this nagging feeling that you're just not effective anymore. And the scale of this problem, it's just staggering. I mean, look at these numbers. We're seeing rates as high as 87% among doctors. 2/3 of Canadian public health workers have felt it, and about half of all American workers say they feel burned out. This is absolutely not a niche issue. It's a full-blown epidemic. And the consequences are really severe for both the person and the company they work for. We're talking about way higher stress levels, people calling in sick all the time, and of course, poor work performance. But on a deeper level, it increases something scientists call allostatic load, which is basically the wear and tear on your body from all that chronic stress. And that can lead to some really serious long-term health problems. All right, now that we've set the stage on how serious this is, let's pivot to a potential solution. Is it possible that movement can actually be a form of medicine for burnout? And just so we're all on the same page, when we talk about aerobic exercise in this context, we're talking about endurance stuff. Jogging, swimming, cycling, pretty much anything that gets your heart pumping and improves your cardiovascular fitness. We're not starting from scratch here. We already have tons of evidence that aerobic exercise has immense psychological benefits. It's a proven way to cut down on stress, lift your mood, and even sharpen your thinking. It's also known to help with symptoms of depression and anxiety. All of this makes it a really, really strong candidate for tackling burnout. So, the big question is, how did the author actually connect the dots? Let's take a look at the methodology, because that's what gives us confidence in the evidence. Okay, so this review followed what are called the PRISMA guidelines. For anyone who's not familiar, this is basically the gold standard for doing a systematic review. It means the whole process was transparent, super methodical, and designed to weed out any bias. It's why we can really trust the findings. And get this, check out how much research they had to filter through. The process started with over 5,000 studies. From there, they removed duplicates, screened for relevance, and in the end, only 6 high-quality studies met all the strict criteria. This whole funneling process is how you know you're looking at only the strongest, most relevant evidence out there. All right, let's get to the good stuff, the core findings. What did these 6 key studies actually tell us about how aerobic exercise impacts burnout? What's pretty incredible here is how consistent the results were, even across totally different groups of people. We're talking university students, employees, even patients already dealing with severe exhaustion. It didn't matter. In every single study, aerobic exercise led to a major drop in burnout symptoms. For example, the Rosales-Ricardo study saw a 31% drop in emotional exhaustion among students. That's huge! Let's zoom in on emotional exhaustion for a second, because it's really the heart of burnout. And the results are just striking. In 3 different studies, people saw their emotional exhaustion levels plummet by 1/3 in some cases. These are not small changes. This is a profound relief from the most draining part of burnout. And right here, this might be the most powerful single number in the entire review.
In the Gerber study, they looked at people who are already suffering from severe burnout. After just a 3-month aerobic exercise program, those people saw a nearly 58% reduction in depressive symptoms. I mean, wow, that is a truly life-changing result.
But, and this is a really important but, these amazing benefits don't just happen after one workout. The review makes it crystal clear that consistency is everything. The people who stuck with the exercise programs had much better and much more lasting mental health improvements. Bottom line, you've got to stick with it to get the results. Okay, so this research is fascinating, but what does it actually mean for the real world? How do we take these findings and turn them into strategies we can use in our workplaces? Well, the implications are pretty clear and direct. Organizations really need to start thinking of physical activity as a core part of mental health care. That means building structured exercise into wellness programs, pushing for policies that make it easier for people to be active, like flexible breaks or on-site gyms, and really framing movement as a key prevention strategy. And all of this brings us to our conclusion and what looks like a really clear path forward. When you boil it all down, the main conclusion from this review is both incredibly simple and incredibly powerful. Aerobic exercise isn't some complex or expensive treatment. It's a scalable, cost-effective, and deeply promising way to fight burnout and improve well-being for just about everyone, everywhere. So that leaves us with one final big question to think about. The evidence is just so compelling. The challenge isn't really about if it works anymore. It's about how we build movement into our standard of care for mental health. How do we finally make it a non-negotiable? This has been a breakdown of the systematic review by Dr. Surya Kumaraswaran. For anyone in the academic or healthcare worlds who's interested in collaborating or has more questions, his contact info is right there on the screen. Thanks so much for joining us.